So today I'm going to be reviewing Tokyo Mirage Sessions for the Wii U. This is a cross between the Persona series and Fire Emblem. It doesn't have any characters from Persona that I know of, but it does have many characters from Fire Emblem, although it plays a lot more like Persona. In fact, it is Persona for all intents and purposes, which has Fire Emblem characters. So if you do happen to have the ugly duckling of the last generation console, i.e. the Wii U, and you're into JRPGs, well, this review's for you, and I recommend to keep watching. Tokyo Mirage Sessions revolve around a young group of pop stars trying to save the world from evil mirages popping up everywhere around Tokyo. Your group of characters consists of your typical goofy, edgy, level-headed, and tough guy cast. Basically every archetype you would think would be in a JRPG. You play as the level-headed guy, Itsuki, a young man who seems to have everyone's best interest in mind and a natural-born lady killer. Accompanying you on your journey are Mirages, all based off Fire Emblem characters, freed from their mysterious bindings, which help aid you on your journey and give you the necessary abilities in order to fight other Mirages, allocate skills, and ultimately try and save the world. I personally found the cast of characters, humans and Mirages, to be very enjoyable, and I generally like them all, especially Kyria, the edgy one, and her Mirage as well. They all seem very different from each other, and you really grow to care about their stories and their role in the game. Dialogue is plentiful, and the English translation, while not voice acted, is very well done. One part of the story I didn't care for too much, and isn't even really related to the story as it's mostly skippable, is the texting that goes on between the group through the Wii U gamepad. It comes up frequently and requires you to take your eyes off the screen and start scrolling through the gamepad to see what another character said. Furthermore, it's often just filler, which doesn't add much to the game itself, although it does help to flesh out each character just a little bit more. I wouldn't say that this bogs down the experience much, as it is skippable most of the time, but I didn't especially care for it. Tokyo Mirage Sessions is a very colorful game. It certainly doesn't wow on the technical side of things, but is nevertheless very pretty a game to look at, especially during battles and the animated cutscenes. Battles are flashy, full of over-the-top animations, and have a great layout and menu system. In fact, all the menu systems are pretty easy to access and stylistic. This game has all the information you need at the click of a button. In battles, for instance, all the stats of monsters you've encountered and your party are all on the gamepad, as well as a fully interactive map when exploring dungeons. There's also a menu directly in the game which has written tutorials for everything you will need to know. Tokyo is a very user-friendly game and does a fantastic menu system. As for each location, that's hit and miss. Although each dungeon feels very different from the last, and all have their own unique layouts, the same cannot be said for the hub areas. I've heard that many locations match their real-life counterparts, although as I've never been to Tokyo, I cannot confirm this myself. And from a novelty standpoint, that's pretty cool, I guess. But this doesn't really mean much in terms of making a game feel big or alive. Most NPCs are just different color silhouettes that walk around and have no interaction with the player at all. The NPCs you can interact with are your standard RPG fare. They're simply there to make the surroundings appear more believable and maybe throw in a quick joke, tip, or side quest. All the main casts are really well done though, with plenty of attention to detail, especially for the Mirages, and all have plenty of different costumes they can acquire throughout the game. Overall, Tokyo is a very pretty game, but nothing to write home about. In terms of its music, I actually really enjoyed it. Boss music and some of the characters' different songs were standout points for me, and I still find myself wanting to listen to Reincarnation to this day. This, in my opinion, is where Tokyo truly shines. So the game plays out mostly like any other JRPG. You're on a quest to save the world, travel through different areas and fight off enemies in turn-based combat, level up your characters, and ultimately seek a resolution while learning more about your cast of characters and what's going on in the world. Where Tokyo differentiates itself, though, is through its excellent and challenging combat and its multitude of customization options for each character. Combat starts off fairly simple, but quickly becomes more complex as you progress and obtain more abilities faster than you can blink. These abilities range from passive ones such as increasing your match HP or granting you immunity to certain status effects, active ones which can add effects to existing attacks or give you completely new ones, and session abilities which help you combo attacks between characters together. All of these skills you obtain are also upgradable and level up as you gain experience. The way you obtain these is also fairly unique, although it has been done in other games such as Final Fantasy IX. As you progress through the game, you will obtain certain items from monsters and treasure chests which you will need to craft new weapons. Each weapon has its own elemental strengths and weaknesses and comes with a multitude of abilities you can master through leveling up with that weapon. Some weapons even have identical abilities, allowing you to level up a particular ability past its initial limit. This is important for all abilities, and mostly for session skills, which are the bread and butter of Tokyo's combat. One thing I do want to point out though is that when you completely level up a weapon when you're inside a dungeon, you do need to go back to your hub area in order to reset that weapon so you could then gain further experience in the abilities allocated to this weapon, or you'll simply just be gaining wasted experience. It could be really annoying when you're halfway in a dungeon and then you have to go through at least 3 loading screens just to be able to upgrade it. It's not a deal breaker by any means, but I did find this annoying from time to time, especially considering how fast you get abilities in this game. So I just mentioned that session skills are the bread and butter of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and that cannot be overstated. Now to explain sessions, I must first explain the elemental system and the weapon triangle system. So as with most games, most elements are strong versus some and weak to others. For instance, fire is weak to ice, but strong against wind, and so forth. Then we have the weapon triangle, even though there are 5 types of weapons. Characters have either sword, lance, staff, axe, or bow. Now I'm not going to get into what beats what, as the game asks you to experiment and figure it out for yourself, but whenever you do hit a Mirage with a weakness, you have a chance to combo it with another character based off what session skills they have equipped. For instance, if a character has a sword lance session equipped, and you strike an enemy with a sword who happens to be weak to it, the other character will follow up with another strike at no cost to their EP, the game's equivalent to magic points, or MP. You can eventually combo this up to as many people as you have in your entire party, and then some. Which brings me to my biggest complaint about this game, and what I feel was a huge omission. As you start to use these session attacks, which you will if you want any hope of victory, they become increasingly long as you acquire more party members and session skills, yet there is never an option to skip these lengthy animations, so over and over you'll see very similar animations without any real necessity to do so. It becomes very annoying after a while and really ought to have been skippable. Huge omission on Atlus's part. The dungeons where all the combat takes place are well varied and all have their own challenges to overcome. I guess they can become a little tedious at times, but I personally always enjoyed them and their challenges. Enemies will randomly pop up on the map, giving you a chance to run away or even strike them to initiate battle with a higher chance of acting first. Occasionally there will even be a very powerful enemy referred to as Savage, or a Savage Encounter, which scale to the player's level and will appear from time to time. I suffered more than one agonizing defeat to these guys until I learned it's mostly just better to run away unless you're fully prepared and save ahead of time. You can save whenever you want. These enemies can be so tough that they have the ability to wipe out your entire party on the very first turn. You can also never get the jump on them. And if you thought the Savage encounters were bad, then you better be ready for boss fights, which the game always gives you fair warning about though. Bosses in this game are not pushovers and can often take a long while to beat. They are very powerful, always have additional monsters by their side, which they often resummon if you defeat them, and show no mercy. If you're not prepared ahead of time or under leveled or equipped, you're probably not going to win. Tokyo is a very fun game, most of the time. Between the puzzle-heavy dungeons and the great storytelling and character interactions and the excellent yet challenging combat, I found myself always wanting to come back. Aside from that, there are trophies you can get that hang up on the wall in your main hub area for completing certain tasks in the game, such as defeating all enemies or unlocking all of a character's weapons. Side quests are well done, often rewarding you with new abilities that are extremely useful in battle, and the aforementioned alternate costumes for your different characters to wear and accessorize with, and shed light on different characters' motivations and relationships with each other. Unfortunately, these side quests don't often deviate from your typical side questing affairs, such as fetch quests or killing X amount of monsters in dungeons you've already explored. But some don't follow this trend and are actually pretty good, with their own unique boss encounters, and the rewards really do make each one worth completing. Tokyo even has a lunatic mode, a step above hard mode, after you beat the game. Lunatic mode actually locks you into that difficulty, whereas none of the others do, and lets you carry over some of the stuff you acquired in your first playthrough. Seeing how hard mode was, I can't imagine anyone but a lunatic actually competing this difficulty though. Seriously, anyone who actually beats this has earned some very serious bragging rights. Like, how I give my hat, I don't wear hats, but I give my hats off to them regardless. In conclusion, I had a lot of fun with Tokyo Mirage Sessions and would recommend it to anyone who enjoys this style of JRPG or really just enjoys JRPGs at all. This game definitely increased my desire to play Persona 5 and I had a blast with it. Sure, the hub areas aren't very interesting, Battle animations can take up a lot of time and should have been skippable, and some of the side quests feel repetitive and boring, but these annoyances pale in comparison to the game's likable characters, excellent soundtrack, beautiful and colorful graphics, well-told and interesting story, and amazing battle system. Combine that with replayability and just how rewarding this game is for completing even the most mundane tasks, and it's really easy to forget about its shortcomings.